make it. So it's okay.
I
Just
have
let
two
it.
scripts for some reason, and
He couldn't make it, so don't worry.
she's in the wrong one.
Yeah, I can't read that.
I tried my best.
Okay. We are back in session. Do I have to hit this?
Yes, it's fun.
More hits it after everything. We're ready.
It's so fun.
Let's go.
Pass it over to me, I'll hit it a few more times.
I actually got to
I had a good
do
nap
that up at Wall Street with, when Well Built went back to being a public corporation. The one they have up there
Huge.
is the original one.
Oh, wow.
And so it's this big leather thing, and it's got a dip in it from everyone hitting
Hit
it.
it so much.
I got to hit it, but not during the official. Anyway, it was cool. You're up.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, got it. P56. P56 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 24th, 2021.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item P56 is PDD 220129. This item was brought to you as a continuance request. So the request is to continue the item to the April 19th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport
What is
Richey.
this one here now?
Move to continue.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next.
Was,
We got another continue.
that wasn't on the airport, was it?
No, that's the next one,
Okay.
P57.
All right.
Item P57 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on January 19th, 2022.
Item P57 is PDD 220233. This is, as Commissioner Oakley stated, the moratorium on development around airports. The last Board of County Commissioners meeting, you requested a continuance for the adoption. This is actually a continuance for the first reading. So the request is to continue the first reading to April 19th, 2022 at 1:30 in Newport Richey, which is a suggestion of the Board of County Commissioners last time.
Move to continue.
Well, wait a
Times
minute.
or
Discussion.
date, oh,
I would like to,
Discussion?
yeah, discussion. So we're going to take this time to do the moratorium, to set up the moratorium. At the same time, we could do the ordinance in the same amount of time. Is that correct?
We can work on an ordinance, Commissioner, if that's what you're asking, instead of like moving forward with the moratorium.
Yeah,
But I will defer
I
to
think we are to
our county attorney.
Just forget about the moratorium, go on to an ordinance and work out a good ordinance for it. It's the same amount of time basically you're using staff for.
Well, it's not really, Commissioner. It's the same amount of advertising time,
Right.
but an ordinance hasn't been crafted yet for the actual regulations, which means that lead time now is going to be built into getting you that before you. So the moratorium is to be in place only until the ordinance can get before you and get adopted. So that's finished. The moratorium was crafted. That ordinance is done. All it has to be is advertised and completed, advertised and acted on by this board. But I think you'll find that if you direct staff to bring forward the changes, that's going to be a longer process than adopting the moratorium.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Moore.
Thank you. What was the date we said you wanted to continue to?
First reading is 4/19 of '22 at 1:30 in Newport Richey, and the adoption is May 3rd, which is what the board asked the last time we were
Yeah, I'm
before the
with you. I
board.
just wanted to make sure I had those dates right.
How
so
long is
that's-
the moratorium for, or is it goes until we get an
Get the
ordinance?
It's for 180 days or until you adopt the ordinance, at which point the moratorium would sunset.
Which
I'm fine following up with Commissioner Oakley, and if you want to give direction to craft an ordinance versus going through the moratorium, I'm fine with that too. Because you got till May 3rd, that's 60 day, 30, counting in my head here. 6 days, so, no, this would be half of that, it'd be a third of that.
And if any development comes in those areas during the time you're working on the ordinance, it's going to move forward, and you're not going to be able to
Right,
deal
but
with it.
I don't think the ordinance actually would change we really go by,
Common
you know,
sense.
FIA or whatever, FAA. We go by their rules when we look at things being built around the airport anyway, so I
Right
don't
now,
think
you,
this,
right now you are not. That's why FDOT is insisting that we adopt these ordinances, because the stuff that it should be looked at during the the only thing we're looking at is obviously if it's a height issue
right,
in the plane, but
and the
anything
sound.
else that is in the footprint, so to speak, is not, if it meets zoning requirements right now, it's being processed.
No, I think I disagree with that. We don't have a Tampa International Airport or a Sarasota Airport. We have small private airports, and we're following the rules for those.
We do
Well,
not
I
have
understand
one
it, we're
set up
following
yet.
the rules
Yeah.
for around those airports for building anything.
So we don't have airport zoning regulations in place. Not sure what's meant by following the rules around those, so there isn't a, we don't have rules in
We're
place.
following
Wait,
setbacks, we're following the sound, right?
No.
And the
that's not
height?
in- That's not in the code.
You have no airport zoning regulations, so there's nothing that we can impose other than a federal requirement.
Madam Chair?
What's wrong with the federal requirement?
Yes.
Commissioner
I'm
Mariano?
trying to figure-
Sorry.
This has been something that's been, we're supposed to do this a long time ago. They're working on it now, we've got the right people involved. They're recommending, the stakeholders themselves, that you put the moratorium in place until the ordinance can be drafted. We'll get a lot of input to make sure we draft it, but we need to protect ourselves for the future. And by putting the ordinance, by putting the moratorium in place, now you get time to set the ordinance up how you want it to be.
We technically are not in compliance with Chapter 333 of the Florida statutes.
So the only way we'll be in compliance at this point in time is to do the moratorium?
Draft an
The
ordinance.
moratorium preserves the status quo for you to adopt the regulations, yes.
Well, let's go on with the motion.
It would prevent any unauthorized development prior to the moratorium starting, and only until the ordinance was set up in place, especially with the runway protection plan. And I believe the stakeholders are definitely on board with the runway protection area, which is in front of the runway.
I don't see our board doing anything from now to when we get an ordinance in that would affect that, unless we don't have the way to stop height or something like that, but that's aviation rules, so.
That's what I'm telling you, Commissioner, is you have no regulations in place currently.
I think what Commissioner Oakley is saying is that whatever that height is that you're going to put in the ordinance is that number that we would follow when looking at a development.
Yeah.
Height is only one of the many things that you're supposed to look
Height.
at.
Height
Right.
and sound?
Height, sound,
Safety.
and is it also sight? And I don't know what sight has to do with, maybe it has something to do with the rooftops or something, what you put on the rooftop.
An example would be a roof. If it was a metal roof, it would have a glare, or if it was a solar farm, then it would have a glare when the pilots are coming into or land. For the site? Talking about visual?
I think we're in a stalemate here. Madam Chair, I know what you're asking for, and I said no problem with it. Your thought, your mind, your train of thought is, take the time and draft the ordinance now versus moving down and doing a moratorium and going out 180 days. I got that. I think what the county attorney is stating is that he does not have enough time, and his staff does not have enough time to get the ordinance drafted in
And that length
that
of
amount of
time.
time by the next, what would actually be the second hearing. Is that
So
correct?
what you're saying is, if we don't do the ordinance, don't do the moratorium now, to protect us to the point that we have the ordinance drafted? Is that?
Yeah, the whole purpose of the moratorium is so that you don't have new development moving into those protection areas while you're developing regulations. And so that, and there is development even in the moratorium that is allowed, that staff has looked at and said, okay, if this moves in, it can safely be accommodated. But the issue is, that's why a moratorium was asked for and why it had been advertised and drafted was to pause that stuff until the regulations were adopted. Frankly, this is one of those, since it's a land development regulation, it's a joint effort between the county attorney's office and the planning department. But no, you're not going to have an adopted ordinance by May 3rd for airport zoning regulations.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam
So
Chair.
that, go ahead.
Sorry. So the suggestion for the continuous last time was to give the opportunity for staff or the county attorney's office to meet with stakeholders. There was a lot of concerns that some of us on this dais had, as well as some of the stakeholders had in that community. We continued it. I think, just go ahead. Let's move forward with continuous for now, because if what's brought to us on the next meeting, we don't like it, we can say no.
That's correct. You don't have to adopt the moratorium.
So give the opportunity, everybody put their heads together, stakeholders meet, county attorney's office, staff. We're still at a stalemate, you can deny it.
I move continuance.
All right,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Now we are on to
P58.
P58. These are roll call votes, right?
Yes,
Attorney?
ma'am.
Yes.
Item P58 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 16th, 2022.
P58 is PDD 220098. Again, as you stated, it's the adoption, so we're asking that you adopt by roll call vote. It's an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Chapter 600, Overlay and Special District Areas, Section 602.8, M3, Villages of Pasadena Hills, impact fees, mobility fees, and development fee surcharges, and other amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, and an effective date. This was presented to the Pasadena Hills Planning and Policy Committee on 2/16 of 2022. The local planning agency found it consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the Board of County Commissioners on February 17th, 2022. And this went to the board for first reading on 3/8 of 22.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. Anyone here wish to speak to this item?
We have no one that has signed up for this item, and there's no one on WebEx for this item.
Seeing no one move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll
Aye.
call vote.
Oh,
Roll
yeah.
call.
I even
By
said
roll
it.
call, you meant?
Okay. Yeah, you do that.
Okay. District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 3, Chairman Starkey.
Aye. All right. P59.
Item P59 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 2nd, 2022, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
This is also the adoption on this item, so we ask that you adopt this item by roll call vote. It's PDD 220206, an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale amendment to the future land use maps, map 2-15 and sheet 11, from Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre, to COM commercial, on approximately 2.51 acres of real property located at the intersection of State Road 52 and Faithful Way, providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date. This went to the local planning agency on 2/17/2022, who found it consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay. Any discussion on this item?
Madam Chair,
Yes?
Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Development Department, just a point of clarification for P59 and also P60. There was a revision in the agenda memos for both of those items that was submitted to the clerk shortly before the meeting commenced. So I just wanted to call that out. Nothing changes in terms of the recommendation, it's just a clarification in some of the text.
Is that this that was handed to us?
Yes.
I think we have two of these. Okay. Board members, any questions? Would anyone like to speak to this item?
No one has signed up for this item, and there's no one on WebEx for this item.
I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second?
Roll call vote.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 3, Chairman Starkey.
Aye. P60.
Item P60 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 2nd, 2022, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
P60 is PDD 220207. This is the adoption on this item, so we ask that you adopt the item by roll call vote. It's an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale amendment to the future land use maps, map 2-15 and sheet 11, from Res 6 residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre to COM commercial on approximately 3.27 acres of real property located on the south side of 52 and west of Moon Lake Road, providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer severability and an effective date. This went to the local planning agency on 2/17 of 2022, who found it consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the board. And as Mr. Pito stated, that there's some text changes that were presented to the clerk's office and to the Board of County Commissioners on this item.
Commissioners, any questions? Anyone in the public wish to address this item, either here or online?
So I have no one signed up for this item and no one on WebEx for it.
I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh,
Roll
yeah,
call.
darn it.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 3, Chairman Starkey.
Aye. P61's public hearing.
Madam Chairman, would you like me to read the
I
procedures?
would.
There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code. Madam Clerk, would you like to swear them in?
Yes, if you're here to speak on the public hearing items, if you would please stand and raise your right hands. Okay. All right.
To anything on the,
Anything on the agenda?
All right. Please raise your right hands. Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
okay, P61.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we have two items on consent,
Okay.
P61 and P62.
Item P61 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 9th, 2022.
P61 is PDD 220261. This is the transmittal hearing, so we're asking that you take public comment and authorize transmittal to the Department of Economic Opportunity and other reviewing agencies. It's a comprehensive plan amendment, CPAL 2104, Chapter 7, Transportation Element. And this is a transmittal of the Transportation Element Table 7-2A, Corridor Preservation, repealing Table 7-2B, providing for map amendments to the Highway Vision Plan and Functional Classification Map, Map 7-36, and the Transportation Corridor Preservation Map, Map 7-35, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency. This went to the local planning agency on November 4th, 21, who found it consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
Would anyone like to?
Adoption, I'm sorry, is scheduled for May 3rd at 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay, would anyone like to address this item? Seeing no one, anyone online wish to address this?
I have nobody online for this. No one signed up.
Okay, so we'll keep it on consent. P62.
Item P62 was published in Tampa Bay Times on February 2nd, 2022.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, item P62 is PDD 220068. This was supposed to be the transmittal hearing for this item, but the applicant has requested a continuance to the April 19th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay, is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone online for this?
No one online and no one signed up.
All right, let's,
I would, since this was,
Yes.
so that 62 needs to be pulled off of consent because you need a separate motion to continue it. So
Oh.
I would suggest a motion on 61 as a consent item first, and then go on to 62.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, P62, I'll take a motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And that
Okay.
would be at the date and time that Ms. Hernandez has previously indicated.
Okay, P63.
Item P63 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on January 5th, 2022.
Hello, Kayla Lloyd with Long Range Planning. Item PDD 220020 is a proposed comprehensive plan text amendment in the name of CPAL 2125 Cross Park PD. This is a visual for the subject property. It is located in the South Market area. The applicant is proposing a text amendment to Sub-Area Policy Flu 7.1.17 Cross Park PD to change existing ALF assisted living facility / rehabilitation entitlements to multifamily residential and commercial uses. The property is located at the southeast intersection of State Road 54 and Henley Road, approximately 1 mile west of Lando Lakes Boulevard. Resolution to the applicant's proposal is to amend the sub-area policy Flu 7.1.17, and there is a companion substantial modification to the existing Cross Park MPUD master plan unit development. The following policies are consistent with the proposed text amendment. The subject property, as I said, is located at the southeast intersection of State Road 54 and Henley Road. The existing future land use classification is PD, plan development. The applicant is requesting to change existing ALF rehabilitation entitlements to allow for high-density residential development situated behind non-residential uses to ensure the preservation of employment-generating uses along the State Road 54 corridor. And here is the applicant's proposed conceptual plan reflecting a mixture of parks, open space, residential, and non-residential uses within the Cross Park PD Flu classification. And the maximum development potential permitted within the PD Flu classification allows for the following 45,000 square feet of medical office, 10,000 square feet of retail, and 280 multifamily units. So there will be a minimum of 3 gross acres of non-residential land uses located along State Road 54 for the 45,000 square feet of medical office or professional office to ensure an integration of employment-generating uses within the project area. As well as the proposed sub-area policy will allow for a maximum of 10,000 square feet of retail, where 5,000 square feet shall include but is not limited to a pet center / veterinary use. And lastly, the proposed sub-area policy allows for a maximum of 280 multifamily apartments, which shall be 1, located behind non-residential land uses unless the development will be vertically integrated with a mixture of land uses, and 2, integration with a mixture of employment-generating uses to preserve a balance between residential development and employment-generating uses. And with that, we recommend the BCC Board of County Commissioner authorize transmittal of the proposed amendment to the Department of Economic Opportunity, DEO, and other reviewing agencies. And staff is available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Good afternoon. Elise Batzel, Stearns Weaver Miller, 401 East Jackson Street. We have just a short presentation to supplement that provided by staff. Where am I pointing? As staff's already indicated, the property is located southeast quadrant of State Road 54 and Henley Road, approximately 1 mile west of Highway 41. That's Land O'Lakes Boulevard. The current FLU, of course, is PD, and the current zoning MPUD. The property is vacant property today. It is in the urban service area and in the South Market area. Specifically, I wanted to point out two things. One is that the vision under policy 8.1.2A is that this area is an urban gateway. It is meant for sophisticated residential development with quality design, intensity, and density necessary to support transit opportunities. In addition, the mission is for high-density, compact, and mixed-use development, exactly what we're going to be proposing in the MPD as well. Today, and I think this is very important, the existing entitlements that could be built are ALF or ILF or office or neighborhood commercial. So it's really key for this particular application because we could go in and do any one of those singularly. Specifically, ILF, independent living versus, let's say, neighborhood commercial drive-through. There are no minimum acreages as of today saying that you have to have a certain amount of anything on that site. And so what we've done is we've added in minimum acreages and we've added into our plan a mix of uses. Just quickly, staff already indicated what the project would be under the future land use, but just quickly to give you a glimpse at the zoning, we're proposing 45,000 square feet of medical professional offices. That's going to front on the main road. Up to 280 dwelling units. I don't think the site will actually accommodate that, but that's what's being requested under the future land use category. This will be vertically integrated. The commercial office uses will be separate from the residential leasing offices and amenities. We're also requesting 5,000 square feet of a veterinary clinic / family, and then also a family park.
A pet park?
A pet park, but a family park as well.
Oh.
One of the commissioners was really concerned that we wanted to incorporate areas on the site for a family. We're going to have to go back in for that when we come back for the MPUD. We're going to have some playground equipment and other amenities that you might not see reflected here, but you will see those reflected when we come before you again for the MPUD. From the preliminary feasibility analysis, the long-range planning transportation staff has determined that the project would result in a net decrease in peak hour trips over what could be built today. I think that's a really important fact. Pasco County Utilities Capacity Statement indicates that there's sufficient water capacity and wastewater available upon implementation of the planned improvements. The school district says that the development will be subject to school impact fees, and a concurrency school review has occurred to mitigate the impact created by the project. Parks and Natural Resources, no comment, and Natural Resources will address wetland issues on the site during the MPUD process. The property today is already zoned MPUD, again, for that ILF or ALF or office, but again, no acreage limitations. There were several policies that the Planning Commission questioned during the last hearing, so we wanted to make sure that we covered those very quickly for you to address those issues. The first one is policy ED 1.4.4. it doesn't apply. We have met the provisions of the other policies. There was a request for a distinction between Seven Oaks. That distinction is in our supplemental report, which has already been provided to the record. And we have revised our planning supplemental report in order to incorporate additional items. I did have some discussions with the county attorney this morning, and there were a couple of provisions in the supplemental report that he objected to or didn't think were accurate. So we have revised the report accordingly, and I'd ask to submit those into the record.
Motion received and filed.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And we're available to answer any questions. The whole development team is here at your disposal. Thank you very much for your time.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
I have some questions before we take public comment. If we could.
Okay,
It's
to
my-
the applicant or to the county staff?
Staff, both.
Both the applicant and the staff?
Correct.
Okay, both.
In case there's public comment, maybe some of these questions will be
Where
answered.
is the planner that was there? Where'd she go?
She's sitting right there.
Oh, Terry, you gonna take the questions? Okay.
Yeah, we can, I can facilitate.
Okay,
There was a
Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a slide that was just shown by the applicant's counsel. It stated less trips. Staff stated there's less trips than what can currently be built today. I'm curious who came up with that and where's that study and where's the supporting documentation?
So this is based on the traffic analysis that was submitted, and there was a comparison, I believe, that was done against the potential entitlements that exist for today. The applicant-
Terry, what entitlements are those? I kept seeing ILF, but what are the actual entitlements?
Yeah, let me grab my notes and I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I can give you the answer if you want me to.
So the actual entitlements for today, that's on the books today,
Right.
is office 80,000 square feet, retail 30,000 square feet, and ALF rehabilitation 275,000 square feet.
ALF rehabilitation. Right. That's different than an ILF, correct?
Yeah, in the analysis that the Planning and Development Department provided, we did not consider the ILF arguments that the applicant was making.
So under this state, under Agency for Elder Care Administration, there's a big difference between an ILF and ALF and a rehab facility, which is actually a SNF, a skilled nursing facility.
I would not be able to answer that, to be quite honest. We didn't make any conclusions regarding what
You can come
constitutes
up,
ILF,
because
but
you can answer
the
too.
applicant could probably speak to that.
The MPUD, if you look not at the future land use, but the MPUD does include ILF as a permitted use.
Okay. All right. So it can be included. Great.
Well, don't leave, guys. He
Yeah.
said he had questions with
That's
an
okay.
S. Did you have more questions?
David, is that correct?
I'm going to push the button.
It's true that ILF is a permitted use under the MPUD. In terms of the trip generation, I don't know what was assumed
Yeah.
for the prior use. I don't know if an ALF was assumed or ILF was assumed in terms of the trip generation.
Because, so if you're looking at it, yeah, if you're looking at it, yeah, I would love to see some supporting documentation on that, because if you're talking about an assisted living facility, the majority of those residents of the assisted living facility won't be driving. Staff will be driving. If it's a SNF or a skilled nursing facility, again, residents definitely won't be driving. It'd be staff. So, which kind of, let me finish. So to bring me to my point is, here we are once again, and this, my opinion, is taking a land use, which originally was office, now we're going to ALF, ILF, skilled nursing, and we're going to multifamily. And if you look at the job generation that an ALF is going to provide, or a SNF is going to provide, it by far exceeds what employment is going to be generated in an apartment complex, which is typically going to be a couple leasing officers and a couple maintenance people. Well, it's a fact.
I know, but that's not all that they're proposing.
I'm not done yet.
Okay, go ahead.
But, you know, we talk about the 54 corridor and trying to save these employment sites, continuing to save these employment sites. And I've actually personally talked about the need for ALFs and ILFs as well as SNFs along that corridor too. And now we're taking that entitlement away once again. Personally, you know, that concerns me. And I think about 5, 10, 20 years down the road. What are we going to have along that corridor? Another apartment complex that's not creating jobs.
Did you want to answer that about the jobs?
Sure. Again, this isn't an apartment complex. It's a mixed-use development with a medical office building, with a veterinary clinic, with ground floor retail, and multifamily units on top. So this is an employment-generating project. With respect to the ILF, ALF, what we are looking at, and just let me clarify, that very first sentence is directly from the staff report. So I would have to defer to staff. We actually took that directly
No,
from
I
the staff
appreciate that.
report.
I'm trying to find out the answer.
Yeah, of course, of course. But with respect to an ILF, today, we could come in and build just an independent living facility there now, and nothing else. So what we are looking at as a practically, and what we believe that you should also be looking at is what we could do today by right versus what we're proposing. And we are increasing the employment generation sizably, and we have submitted a study to that effect into the record. In addition, Commissioner Moore, I don't know if it would be helpful for you, but maybe it was helpful to the Planning Commission, but the owner of the property did market it for some time as an ALF and just didn't get any bites, but he's here if you'd like for him to put any of that information on the record for you as well.
I mean, and I appreciate that, but I guess at the same time, I mean, do we have documentation to show how long that was? Do we have documentation that shows how many inquiries there were? Do we have documentation that shows how the property was marketed? So
No,
that
but
would
he
be-
can testify under oath to you as the seller what he's done, and that would be sworn
We'll go through it,
testimony.
and maybe I will in a little while. Thanks.
So how many jobs are generated by an ALF?
I can give you that number.
I don't know the answer to that. We didn't study the ALF because that was never the intended use on the property.
Okay. One of the things that I found was different on this is that and I like this, is they'll be building that medical, it isn't a proposed building, they're going to build the building. It's not a pad. It's a two-story office building that will be built.
Okay, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So, to that point, 'cause I was going to bring that up too. This will be a question for staff. What's the trigger that requires them to build the office? What's the trigger that requires them to build the retail? And in what amount of time does that come into effect?
Madam Chairman, you wouldn't have those triggers in your future land use anyway. If that's important to the board, that could be part of the MPUD.
Right, the sub-area policy mandates the construction of the office building, and it is part of the plan to set those triggers in place to capture the retail and the office on site by a time certain. The retail part is easy because that'll just be part of the building that they're proposing, the vertically integrated mixed use. It's the office building that's up at the northern corner of the site that we have to identify at which point are they going to build the office building. But it's the sub-area policy mandates the construction of office.
So
there.
what's the timeline then?
That would be probably established in the MPUD itself.
What's being proposed?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
What's being proposed then? You're stating there has to be a timeline, so what is that?
Yeah, I don't have that information in front of me.
What is that? I mean, I would think that'd be important, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be established in the MPUD. So I don't know when exactly that is. Is it ahead of the multifamily building? Is it after the multifamily building? But it's mandated to be under construction.
Because I think of some, and Mr. Stein, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or Mr. Goldstein, there's been, I don't want to say a similar project because nothing's exactly the same, but there's been MPDs we have approved in the past where we do have almost a time certain of when another product has to be built, whether it be, office or commercial or retail. Have we not?
Push the button, David.
If it's important to the board that the office be developed first, as Mr. Steinsetter said, we could put a condition in the MPUD, if the board directs us to do that, that ensures that the office predate the apartments, that it be built before the apartments are built,
Or contiguous with,
Continue.
or simultaneously with.
simultaneously.
Right. Because right now, again, we're hearing that it's being proposed that it's going to be done, we just don't know when. So in essence, in actuality, you could build, let's say, the apartment complex, it could sit there for 20 or 30 years before an actual office building's built, in reality. That's true, right?
I'm not sure because the way that the sub-area policy was established, I'm trying to load that up right now.
Because if there's no trigger, no timeline in the MPUD,
So,
I think we can request that in the MPUD, so we could put that trigger in. I think that's what
the
everyone's
intent of the
saying.
sub-area policy is not to have a token office site for the development of multifamily, that there must be office on the site.
we do, I feel you need guarantees, because here we are going down the same road we've gone many, many a times that concerns me along this 54, 56 corridor. Again, at one time, this was just office, then it got converted to AL, to, you call it rehab, I call it a SNF, because that's what it really is. Skilled nurse facility, that's under Rocket, that's what it is. And then an ALF. So, here we are for at one time, a really great job generating site to moving it to this, and then now we're looking to convert it again.
So staff informed me that the applicant is willing to phase it in via the MPUD conditions of approval. I also have Dr. Jamali here to provide some input on the long-range planning determination on the traffic
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Well, I guess I have a question. Would a 60,000 square foot office building and the veterinarian clinic equal or be greater than an ALF?
Yes.
Yes, so we'll have more jobs.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too.
The analysis indicated that the build-out of the proposed sub-area policy entitlements, which are required, unlike the existing sub-area policy entitlements, which leave it open, these entitlements are required, and that would render 93 jobs, as opposed to the maximum build-out potential of 47.5 jobs in a mixed-use scenario with ALF.
Madam Chair, is it 60,000 or 45,000 square foot of office?
It's 45,000 of office
Right.
and another 10,000 in veterinary, medical, and retail. So 55,000.
55.
So how did you do your analysis when it came to how many jobs are in an assisted living facility or a skilled nursing facility? Because there's state requirements, and there's some that go over and above, but you can just look at where are the state requirements?
Hello, Cynthia Spidel, 401 East Jackson Street, Stearns Weaver, and I have been sworn. Yes, in the jobs report and the supplemental report, we went to Florida Fast Facts through the state's website, and we calculated out that it's 0.44 jobs per bed. So obviously, we weren't sure how many beds exactly, so we had to make some assumptions to convert it. And the whole site, there's no current mix to be forced on the site, so I did I just did a scenario of an example. We used the Office of Economic Growth's maximum development potential for the site. We made some assumptions as to how much would be allocated to each one, and then we used that 0.44 per bed for the assumption for the ALF. I got it off the state's website.
You did ALF then?
ALF, yes. Yes. See, I think part of the disconnect is that the site was over entitled. So we can't fit everything that was approved on it. And the sub-area policy just lists 3 separate uses and doesn't require a mix, and it doesn't require any minimum of any of them. And that's what we're improving.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Mariano.
Papers we were just handed under Exhibit A, it's got a date on it that shows 9/19, and then it goes to 12/7/16. And at the time, it's an MPU rezoning request. I really don't like getting this type of paperwork when we're going to hear a hearing. We should have had this before. But it says at the time, so back in December of 16, there was a request to the current MPUD rezoning to increase the assisted living facility rehab center to 275,000 square feet. It had 100,000 square feet before that, and also to allow 80,000 square feet of office. Now, I don't know,
Where's my copy?
it's under Exhibit A, right after this, it's a second section of the big thick packet we just got.
Is it numbered?
It's not numbered. But right after Exhibit A, it's like the next page. So what I wonder is, we're talking about entitlements changing here, changing there, but just 6 years ago, there was a major change to this whole facility.
What is that bell ringing?
Somebody's phone.
Y'all need to silence your phones, okay? Somebody? Silence your phone? Thank you.
Maybe it's under
What's the
Exhibit, maybe it's
question?
under Exhibit B. My question is, I'm not sure why this is here, and, I mean, I'm just saying, back then, there was a big change from the entitlements. We increased the entitlements dramatically.
Yeah, I can answer
where they were
that. So
before.
when we were at Planning Commission and David Goldstein had specific questions of how we are consistent with the existing, with specifically the economic development policies for promoting economic growth and viability along the corridor. So we basically included the current, because we have a PD, we have an MPUD already. It was approved in 2016. So we included that as backup to show you where we got our assumptions from on the jobs analysis, because there is a current MPD approved on the site, 2016. So we're basically, I just wanted to source where I got my information from in the supplemental report. And we only changed 2 little things. From what was, so this has been on the record since Planning Commission. But we did make a couple of minor edits today to clean up some concerns that David Goldstein had raised this morning. So, but the bulk of the data was already in your report beforehand and in your agenda package. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's, like I said, it just shows what was done before, and now
Yeah.
with another change coming in. So as far as entitlements that were there before to what's here now is substantially different, but I don't know if it's going to do any better.
I think that's what she's saying, they kind of over-entitled it.
Yes.
Madam Chair, can I have a follow-up to Commissioner Mariano? So this will probably be, staff will have to probably answer this to confirm, stating that 275,000 square feet is defined in the MPUD. When in actuality, if you look at it, to me, that looks like more of a campus type of situation where you have IL, AL, and skilled. And that's, again, I'm only making an assumption here. That's the assumption I make by looking at the amount of square footage at 275,000 square foot. So now you have this, big campus, this transitional campus is what you have. You can go from IL to AL to the skilled, or if you have unfortunately, you have an accident, break a hip or something, you can go to rehab, and you can come back to the IL. It's all on the same campus. So you can actually, currently now, they could have 275,000 square feet of either IL, AL, or skilled, or it could be a mix. Because it could be a mix. It's all allowed. And then we want to hear traffic, because I know the gentleman's wanting to answer our question, too.
Good afternoon. This is Amir Jamali, Transportation Planner with Long Range Planning. I just want to explain, they are reducing their total trip generation because they are proposing to reduce their entitlements almost by 50%, because right now they have approved retail for 80,000 square foot, so they are proposing almost 50,000 square foot. So there is a big reduction in their total trip generation. That's why they need, even they don't need to do a transportation needs assessment.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, and when you speak, can you make that microphone closer? Because
sorry.
it was hard to hear you. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, ma'am. So I heard a statement earlier of there was going to be, this is going to be more jobs. They're increasing job generation. But you're stating there's going to be less trips with the current proposal. If you had AO there or a SNF, like I mentioned earlier, those residents aren't going to be driving, it's just going to be staff that's driving. But you have a multifamily apartment complex with up to 280 units in addition to the office. So would that not increase the
So,
trips?
Yes, because the retail entitlements is a big trip generator. When they are decreasing the retail, so there is a big reduction in total. ALF doesn't make that much trip generation as a retail or office.
Madam
No,
Chair.
I agree with you. So I'm still confused on how you came to the conclusion that there's going to be less trips now than there were prior.
So-
You're building a 280-unit
Because
multifamily building.
he's telling you what it's entitled to and what those entitlements could generate.
Well, it's because.
And they're reducing the entitlements, so of the higher trip
Right
generating
now,
uses.
they can have 80,000 square
Pretty.
foot of retail, right? So they are proposing to have retail almost
45.
10,000?
Right.
Almost 10,000. So there is a big reduction, almost 70,000 square foot of retail. It's a big or huge trip generator. So when you remove that from your entitlement, so there is a big reduction in the trip generation.
When he's done, you can.
Go ahead.
Okay, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Well, I was just going to say they had 80,000 of retail and office, and they're reducing that to 45,000. But now you're saying that they're reducing it from 80,000 to 10,000?
No.
80,000 to 10,000 of retail, and I think their
35.
office is 45,000. Yes.
But they're reducing the 80,000 of office down to 45,000. And how many jobs is that worth, equivalent to?
For trip generation, we don't look at the number of the jobs.
Okay.
We just look at the IT manuals, and they just give us a number for total trip generation.
So I remember when when the gentleman with the ALF came in for the change. Is he here? Yeah. Hello. I remember when that happened, and I drive this corridor all the time. I drive down Henley all the time, and just so you know, Henley gets you to, oh gosh, what's the name of that street that I've been trying to get a sidewalk on since I got elected?
Leonard?
Leonard. Henley takes you to Leonard, and which is kind of a shortcut to 41. Well, I don't know if it's a shortcut, but it does take you to 41. And I would not be okay with this if they didn't have the office in the front and the veterinarian space. But the footprint of the multifamily is smaller, and in the back part, it's a very funky layout property that they have. It's got wetlands next to it. It's kind of an isolated corner, but there is residential down Henley. But the front it has commercial, an office. Actually, there's not a lot around there yet. But right next door is a Stanley Steamer office. Kind of, they store their trucks inside the building, and so I think that office on the corner there would do very well. As a matter of fact, I told the applicant I have a friend who is going to be moving to Pasco with a medical research facility that needs 20,000 square feet for retinas, and I'm sending him to them. So could be some great jobs in that medical office building, and so I'm okay with this.
Madam Chair,
now
one-
that they have the office there. Yes.
I know we still have to do public comment. I think there's people actually,
Sure.
I don't know if there are, and I see a list over here. I don't know what their item they're for. Oh, they're not? Oh, never mind. Okay. I did- Question, it might be for the applicant or the applicant's counsel or representatives. I mean, it's no secret that my concern along this corridor are jobs, right? Is the applicant not willing to convert all this to office or retail, or is he already under contract or under LOI with an apartment developer, and that's why we're here today?
But those are done.
I think that the idea of the mixed use is also supported a lot by your comprehensive plan. They put a lot of time and money into this mixed use development up until this point. I don't think that it's economically viable to have that much office right now at that location.
Or
which is why-
retail?
Well, we're having 10,000 square feet of
No,
retail.
I'm just asking, I mean,
Yeah.
either one, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
45,000 square feet of office and 10,000 square feet of retail. You know, the advantage, of course, from that mixed-use development is you're getting office, you're living and working right in the same area. That's exactly what you and your comprehensive plan want, I mean, in all of these policies. So I
Okay,
believe
it's just a question.
Yeah, I assume the answer is no, we're too far down the line to convert it all, and we don't think that there's a market for it
Okay,
at this point in time.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll take public comment. Did anyone sign up to speak to this item, either here or online?
No one has signed up for this item, and no one is on the line for this item.
Oh, okay.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none, close public hearing.
Board members?
Madam Chair, so this was discussed a little while ago, and staff mentioned the applicant said they were okay with this, of having some type of trigger that states that the office and retail would be constructed at the same time as the multifamily or before. Is that correct?
But I think that happens in the MPUD.
As I said, that would be an appropriate condition for the zoning when it comes before you.
Okay, well,
And that would be important to me as well. Whose district is this now? Is this still mine?
It's mine.
Okay.
oh, yes.
It was mine when it started. All right, so, I mean,
Well, I'll have to wait and
Right.
see on that. I can't be supportive of this.
My concern, what I've said previously, is the transportation, especially when it's right next to 41 and 54. Now, they did say it would be about 3 years for this project to be developed, and by then, the Ridge Road extension will be completed, and it should take traffic away from 54. I do have some concerns as well, because we are looking at an overpass at 41 and 54 because of the traffic congestion. So if you do have the traffic studies, I would like to see those. That was my biggest concern. And then I do feel we need assisted living and independent living facilities for our elderly and disabled. And I feel it's really important for them to have a facility to go to. Again, I don't have any data to back up the studies where it says that we don't need them. And then, of course, I also had the concern with the kids playing right along Ridge Road, 54. So those were some of my concerns.
if you want to address her concerns. Yeah, so retail could be McDonald's, Burger King, and Circle K? Chick-fil-A?
Vertically integrated ground floor retail. So, you know, typically you have first floor retail under a multifamily project.
I mean, if you didn't do mixed use, I mean, you
Yes.
have, how much, that's,
Oh,
I'm just
They-
saying that.
It's C1 currently with pharmacies and drive-throughs are allowed.
Yeah,
during the MPUD site plan, just to address your issues with respect to like the children, we have been working on what does that look like, you know, how to make sure that those areas are obviously safe. So clearly we wouldn't put it right out on 54. And when we come back for the MPUD, that's duly noted and we'll make sure that we address it in our plan.
Okay.
With respect to traffic, it is a decrease compared to what is permitted today. I understand traffic is an issue on 54. I really, just looking at those benchmarks as it applies to this particular application, there is a decrease that has been shown by the transportation analysis, which does meet your approved methodology.
My other question, what I was unaware about was the 100,000 square foot of the ALF or prior zoning, and it expanded to the 275,000. If it was back at the 100,000, what would the traffic have been at that point? And previous boards had granted the additional entitlements for an ALF and ILF, not for multifamily. So what would the equivalency be if it was only 100,000?
I don't know, that isn't what's entitled today, so I don't know that that was studied as part of the study.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone? Okay, take a motion then.
Madam Chair, just one other thing for the record before, too, is that when you do move from AL, IL, skilled, it does increase capacity at schools. That's a fact. The people in the AL, IL, or ALF are not going to school, so it will have an impact on the schools as well.
So I just want to remind everybody, and I was going to discuss this in commissioner items, but I may not be here depending how long the day goes. It is my 30th wedding anniversary, and I am going to my dinner. That our comprehensive plan says that the 54 corridors where the density goes. And then we've said we want to preserve the job creating sites. So, so when people come to our county from around the country and read our comprehensive plan and spend a lot of money to design a project that follows what we ask them to follow, and staff takes all that time to tell them what it is that what we require and what we ask them to do, and then they come here and do it, and when we make stuff up, and not that we make stuff up, but we don't follow our plan, that's not right. That's not right, and it makes me very uncomfortable, and it's our plan is to preserve Pasco County by putting density where transit will make sense one day. And the idea is that you build to that level, and we preserve the quality of life in Pasco and don't pave over the whole thing. And that is what ULI came here twice and told us to do, and we are following cutting-edge planning principles here. And this is what we ask the development community to do. And I feel we're being adversarial with our staff and with our comp plan, so it's a little frustrating. Terry?
Madam Chair?
Yeah, okay, Commissioner Mariano, then Terry.
So let's go back in time in 2016. In 16. What we had on here was increasing from 100,000 to 275 for ALF, okay? But also what's on there is your office entitlements. And we're trying to push for more jobs, as Commissioner Moore states. We had 80,000 square feet for office. That's being shrunk from here. Retail entitlements were at 30,000 square. Now, you can tell me that retail causes more trips, but the retail is going to be somewhere. And it's going to be somewhere in that corridor. Does it really increase the traffic on 54?
Retail?
The retail, yes. Because if people are going to be traveling to one retail or another retail, that trip's still happening, whether it be from there or not. But when you're looking at 80,000 square feet of office, that's a big drop. That's what we had before. That's what we wanted to see down there, is more office. We don't want 45% of our population commuting down to Pinellas and Hillsborough all the time.
Terry, do you know how big the Stanley steamer is across the street and how large that lot is? Does anyone have that answer?
I don't have that answer handy off the top of my head.
Maps is gone from my iPad somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, did you want to say something, Terry?
Yeah,
Kind
just
of talking about your
as a
job.
point of clarification, the way in which we considered this project from the planning department's perspective was according, literally verbatim, of the July 2020 multifamily policy directive that the board issued. So we took that policy and we parsed it sentence by sentence and moved through that thing that policy directive, and applied those principles onto this particular project. So the site plan or the concept plan that you saw a little earlier is a depiction of that multifamily policy directive, even to the point where we made them put the office and the veterinary care up on the corridor edge, and the multifamily building was still visible from the 54 corridor, because the policy directive says that these buildings should be behind viable employment-generating land use frontages. And so because that building was still visible and fronting along 54, we made them integrate. And so they actually met every single aspect of that policy in the site, in the concept plan that they've provided to us, which it was based on the sub-area policy. So we reverse engineered, in a sense. We site planned the site first to make sure that whatever site plan is developed on this irregular lot complies with the multifamily policy directive. In so doing, we found that it was also consistent with the series of policies in the comprehensive plan, and all that's laid out for you in the agenda memo.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick, it's your district. You want to make a motion?
I know they reduced their entitlements for office, and and 6 years ago, they increased their entitlements for assisted living, which has increased their entitlements for the multifamily. But what about keeping it symmetrical? Or, what's the word? Comparable with the numbers. If you're decreasing 80%, 80,000 to 45,000, but you're keeping the multifamily the same.
So I'm going to pull up the site. This is oh, I'm sorry, would you pull up the presentation? I just think it will be helpful as you look at the site and some of the site constraints too, and take that together with what Terry was talking about, how we really did go back many times with staff to find a concept plan that met all of your policies. I can't zoom, but if you look here, it's a very odd-shaped site, and the way that the stormwater retention runs, you can see it has to stay in that very awkward location. So you're left with this triangular piece of property that you have to develop. And there's only certain uses and certain size buildings that will actually fit in that corner. So if it was more of a square site, we might have been able to add more office there. But the functionality of parking, the functionality and the integration of uses, it sort of dictated somewhat what we put there. In addition, we have to go out when we're developing a project and look at what the marketplace is asking for, because the last thing we want to do is build 80,000 square feet of office that sits empty, or 20,000 feet is vacant. We want to make sure that we are providing viable uses to actually generate the jobs that you all are asking for, and part of that is driven so much by the market. We have to look at what people want to buy and where they want to buy it. So taking all those things into consideration, including all of the things that Terry said, I mean, he and his staff put us through the ringer in a good way. It's a much better site now than it was. So the size of the buildings are dictated somewhat by the geography of the site. Did that answer your question? Partially?
Yes, but we want to keep more office than multifamilies.
Madam Chair? And I agree with that, if you would, ma'am?
Yes.
I'd rather continue this than take it the way it is. So let me ask you this. We've got 45,000 square feet of office right now. We had 80. Our main goal is to create jobs in the corridor, not just get density. Would you be willing to go back and take a look at increasing your office up to the 80,000, even if it means you got to shrink your multifamily back to make that fit?
Can we look at the jobs generation on page 16 of the report? I just want to show you something. I know that you probably haven't had a chance to delve into the minutia, but I think it'll help with the jobs generation question. The medical office on here is 45,000 square feet, and that's the big generator, right? 81 jobs.
Wait, what page are you on?
I'm sorry, page 16.
There's no numbers.
I don't think there's any numbers on here, just,
At the top of the page on the left, sorry, probably underneath your staple.
This is the latest thing we got?
Yes. You know, if you look at office parks and office developments, they're all 20 to 40 to 50,000 square feet, unless you start getting into, you know, higher levels where you can stack all of that. But of course, we have height issues as well.
What's the height issue?
And
What's the height requirement?
oh, there's no height.
There's nothing here in
Go up.
Pasco.
That's what I thought.
So you want, so you want us to go to what off, how many
a
square
third
feet of
floor,
office?
is that what you're asking?
So 80,000 would be three, 4 floors, expand it out, however you want to do it.
Yeah, Cynthia's whispering in my ear
Sorry.
that David Engel with Economic Development actually said 45,000 was acceptable given the location of the site and the geography, but that's not what you're asking, so.
No, we actually just pulled an item that David Engel settled for a lower number. We're coming back in and
understand.
try to get more, so.
So you're asking for more office. You'd like us to
We want to
continue the
create more
item.
jobs.
If you could take a 2 or 3 minute recess, I can talk to my client about what that does to the deal. I don't know the answers to
I'm
that.
fine.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
We can just open up the next hearing.
think I'm staying the night, I'm not sure yet.
Oh.
I haven't made that
Kinda
reservation
like a
yet.
surprise.
And I gotta pick out my anniversary. At this point, I'm not getting anything.
So would the vice chair then sign for you when you're gone? Because we have just a couple more public hearing items.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
We're back. We're back on, and, let's see if we have any resolution and. Oh, thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim McEachern. I have been sworn in. I'm with Live Development, and we are the applicant for the subject property. I'm going to speak briefly to some of the questions that were asked related to the ILF, ALF achievable densities, and also could office at 80,000 square feet be achieved on the property. Just to give you a little background, my company is a developer of both multifamily and senior living product. We're one of the largest developers in the Southeast. I've been in this role for the last 6 years, and I'm here in Tampa, Florida. We looked at the property in 2019 as an ILF, ALF development, and we explored whether or not this was a feasible development for our company. In that process, we engaged a nationally recognized company to do a market study, and they found there was approximately 5 groups or 5 projects near proposed or under construction within the submarket area. And in that process, we determined that there was an excess of supply and that the project was likely not feasible, and we were unable to secure financing for an ALF, ILF. And we were intending to do actually 3 uses. We were going to do both assisted living, independent living, and memory care on the property. The other issue that's happened since we looked at the project for ALF, ILF in 2019 was that we experienced the COVID pandemic. That's been very impactful on the senior living business. It changed the whole dynamic of how that business operates today. And in many instances, there are families that are concerned about putting their senior family member into a assisted living facility today. And in fact, we had to significantly scale back our business in that sector because of the impacts of COVID. I can't speak to the current demand outside of the studies we did in 2019, but taking into consideration what's occurred with COVID, I would think it'd be even more difficult today to get the financing for an ALF, ILF. The question was regarding 80,000 square feet of office. Clearly, without the height restriction, you could build 80,000 square feet in a vertically taller building. The concern, though, is with the constraints of the site, you would have to park that adequately. One of the challenges with medical office is you're looking at 5 to 6 spaces per 1,000 square feet. We've currently site planned 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, and we've maxed out the site, as you can see on the corner of the roughly 3 acres, with a parking lot. To go to 80,000 square feet, we would begin to encroach upon other aspects of the site, or we'd have to build a parking garage. The rental rates at this location don't support a parking garage like you would see in a more urban environment like downtown Tampa, downtown St. Pete. So to sacrifice then multifamily or some of the other retail uses to go to a taller office building to accommodate the parking requirement would then put financial constraints on and create a feasibility issue for the overall project. As you can see, we've spent a lot of time and energy to find the perfect balance here. We're obviously satisfying or attempting to satisfy all of the comprehensive plan requirements for the county, but it's also more than just comprehensive plan. It's what balance of uses will actually work at this location. Feasibility is very important for development companies like mine. I'm joined here today by Mr. Hitesh Patel. He is the owner of the property. He's owned it since '08. He can tell you personally the stories of going through one economic downturn related to the commercial downturn, the Great Recession, how he was unable to sell and develop the property then. He's re-entitled it. He went through a process for 6 years trying to reposition the property for senior living. Groups like mine approached him, unsuccessful. Then he tried to develop himself. In the record is a letter that states his hardships related to trying to develop this property as a senior living component. What we're trying to accomplish today is, A, satisfy your requirements for the comprehensive plan, but also create a balanced project that is feasible. This is the feasible mix that works for our company. We've got a balance of 45,000 square feet of medical office. It generates roughly 81 jobs. We have a multifamily component. We've shown 240 units. That is the component that finances all the other uses. Without Without the multifamily, without the rents that can be achieved there, we cannot create job-generating uses. We cannot do mixed use. We cannot put a veterinarian center. We have done our best here to try and create a real, viable, feasible project. What you see today isn't just a conceptual idea that might have been created in 2016. It's real. We're going to build it. We're ready to build it. We have to get through this first step. We're ready to commit to the medical office. We're ready to do everything in the MPUD stage. But without your support here today, we're really stuck. Mr. Patel will have to take the property back to the market. He will continue to pay taxes. He'll continue to be a good citizen, but he's been unable to develop it for many years now. So thank you. I'll answer any questions.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Mariano.
I'll tell you what, I really appreciate your knowledge, your experience, and your explanation. I'm going to move approval.
I'll second for transmittal, as long as we can figure out the hurdles prior to the next motion hearing.
But Madam Chair, that's with building the office building.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay.
And when you get your MP approval, I'm going to send you this customer.
I'll make it easier to finish. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 4-1, and we'll move on to
P64.
P64. Thank you very much. Do I need to sign anything?
Not for
Jack,
that
I
one.
got to leave here no later than
This
4.
will be quick. We had a good meeting out there with staff, which we'll talk about.
Item P64 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on January 19th, 2022.
Liam Devine, Planning and Development, P64. Before we get started, staff has revised the agenda memo, which has been submitted with the clerk's office to add finding fact number 2, which was a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction. Staff has also received ex parte communications from Commissioner Mariano's office. P64, PDD 22-7587 in the name of Habib Enterprises LLC. It is a zoning amendment from AR Agricultural Residential District to R1 MH Single Family / Mobile Family Home District. The subject site is currently located on the north side of Bolton Avenue, approximately 100 feet west of Hicks Road. Here's an aerial view. The surrounding future land use to the north is Res 6, to the east is Res 3 and Res 6, to the south is Res 3 and Res 9, and to the west is Res 6. The surrounding zoning to the northeast and south is all AR zoning. To the west is R1 MH, which is the same zoning district that the applicant is proposing. The parcels to the left of it, to the west, there's about 16 parcels, each of them being half-acre lots on approximately 9.7 acres for reference. The subject site is currently undeveloped on approximately 6.85 acres. The applicant proposes to develop the property with mobile homes in conformance with the R1 MH single-family mobile home district standards. The surrounding area is characterized by residential development consisting of site-built and mobile/manufactured homes. The subject site currently has a future land use classification of Res 6 under the comprehensive plan, and access to the property is from Bolton Avenue and Hicks Road, which are both county-maintained local roads with approximately 50 feet of right-of-way. On February 17, 2022, upon consideration of the evidence presented at the Planning Commission hearing, Planning Commission decided to disagree with PDD staff recommendation and voted to deny the application. After that vote, the applicant has submitted a voluntary deed restriction limiting the maximum number of dwelling units to 11. This is coming with a recommendation from PDD staff for approval and Planning Commission for denial. I'm here if you have any questions.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So I met with the neighbor who spoke at the last meeting. I met with Donald Carey out on site. We walked the site. Talked with Terry Pitos, talked to Denise about this facility, what we can actually do with it. I don't mind the density. He's right now at approved for 11. I wouldn't mind if he even went to 12 units, if he could make it fit. The biggest concern was the drainage, as far as it is a closed basin, verified by staff. I don't want to go through all the loops that you have to go through to make it a basin of special concern, closed basin of special concern. But I do want to see us put the stormwater requirements into it. We've talked to the applicant. The applicant's agreeable to it. I know staff has the language to add in it right now, but I'm going to be happy to move this forward. So do we have the language we need to go put the stormwater requirements in there?
Commissioner, what do you, this is a Euclidean zoning, you can't condition it.
Can't condition it?
No. I mean, if they're going to add a deed restriction, that may be something that could be considered, but this is a straight zoning category, so you can't tack a condition on it.
All right, what if they agree to do it?
I mean, you could do it through, much like the reduction in density, you could do it through a deed restriction type process.
So if you guide me to what we need to go put in there, the applicant's agreeable to improve it, so how can we go about it? I was trying to get with staff ahead of time to get this squared away.
So there has been discussion, and of course, we have to call for public comment and have the applicant and all that. But my understanding is the applicant is agreeable to design the site, include that as a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction on the site.
Okay.
To design the site in accordance with the closed drainage basin requirements of the Land Development Code 902.2.N4B.
So from what I heard from the commissioner, correct me if I heard something wrong, but it is not, while it's not a basin of special concern, it is a designated closed basin.
I am not certain that it is a designated closed basin. I believe that Mr. Donald Carey is in the audience who may be able to answer that question.
Okay. It looks like he's coming to help you.
Donald Carey, Engineer 3, Public Works. As to the question as to whether the basin is closed, yes, the property is within a closed basin.
Okay. So I'm assuming that the provision that Denise read would kick in anyway if it's a designated closed basin.
I don't believe so, because what Denise was referring to was from the
Basin of special concern, was that the reference? Okay. So if the applicant is willing to design to the basin of special concern standards, and is willing to do that through a deed restriction recorded prior to development or prior to the effectiveness of this zoning ordinance, that would be a way to get to where you want to be.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And you've driven this area?
Walked it, drove it, looked around the whole
Looks like
neighborhood.
it's full of code violations. Sorry.
It's just south of the park.
I could drop pins on all kinds of lots here and send somebody out.
Okay. Now, we had the hearing last time. We continued it. Do we need to open up the public comment
I
again?
mean, it's a mess.
I don't.
This
We
is the
don't-
first time
this
this
is
one's
fir-
been
yeah.
here, I think.
Okay. All right, so we didn't have it open
And I think
before.
we do have sign-ups.
I just
People
guess
signed
we
up.
just continued it straight out.
You do.
Okay.
You have people
Well,
signed up.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just a question for staff or the
What the
applicant
heck is
themselves.
What is that?
In the memo, agenda memo, it states, sorry, change in zoning from AR agriculture residential to R, yeah. Hold on one sec, I'm sorry.
R1MH.
Yeah, hold on one sec. R1MH. But right now, if I'm not correct, you can actually have, what, up to 6 manufactured homes on the property?
That is
By-
accurate.
by right?
Yes. Yes, by right, yes.
Okay. So originally, the ask was at Planning Commission for 15, and now the applicant has gone down to 11.
That's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, 6.85 using 2.2 per acre would have been 15.
Okay. Well, we're
Yeah.
always looking for, so today, they could go out there and build, would not have to do any of these drainage improvements at all. They could just literally go out there and build, right?
They could do 6 manufactured mobile home sites.
Without any drainage improvements. Well,
They would still have to go through a preliminary development plan and all that
but
process.
they would not have to
correct.
do to the
Not
extent
particularly,
that
that's
Commissioner Mariano
correct.
has asked them to do via deed restriction, correct?
That's accurate.
I have a question.
Make sure we're all on the same page here.
Yep, but what kind of, so when someone puts a mobile home on here, what kind of rules do we have for that? I mean, it's not a subdivision with deed restrictions, I'm guessing, looking at the neighborhood. I don't know, what happens there?
Can you be a little bit more specific? And I apologize, I don't think I understood the question.
Do they have to have driveways? Do they have to have landscaping, grass?
They'll have to have driveways. In terms of landscaping, there isn't a specific landscape code, other than what, so anyway, they'll still have to comply with the general land development code and the requirements in the land development code. Are you looking for something?
It would have to go through, I think, what the commissioner's
They would have to
asking
do a
for.
preliminary
It's-
development plan, they'll have to go through plating,
Yeah, it's either a minor rural or it's a full-blown
it's probably full-blown. yeah.
subdivision at
Considering it's
11
Res
lots.
6, it's going to be full-blown.
Yeah.
And so there will be some kind of, someone's going to look at that kind of stuff?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even if they developed it with the six lots, it would still have to be looked at that way.
Okay.
Going to have to go through plating because it's more than 3 parcels.
Right. I'd recommend you take public comment.
Yes, we will
and
take
then-
public comment now.
Then go
Thank
back
you.
to questions.
I have 3 individuals signed up for public
Did
comment.
you want to hear from the applicant?
Oh, that's true.
Okay?
Applicant first, then public comment.
Madam Chairman, Todd Pressman, 200 Second Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. Good afternoon. I'll make this short, and then if I may respond. Commissioner Moore.
And you've
brought up
been
a good-
sworn?
I've been sworn, yes, sir.
Thanks.
Brought up a good point. Currently, right now, 6 units could go there. We originally came in at 15 requests. We reduced it to 11 in response to the good neighbors' concerns. And further, in response to the good neighbors' concerns, we're looking at having a much higher level of retention, detention, with the help of the staff. So we agree to that, and I'll sit down so you can hear from the neighbors. Thank you. Or answer any questions? Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Do you want me to call up the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The first individual who signed up, the name is William and Kathleen, no last name that I can see. So would one of you like to come up, or both?
Whoa, where's he going? Okay, who's speaking? Okay, call the next person.
All right. Miss Deborah, last name is long and I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Elandereski?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Deborah Delia Durinsky. I have a property, well, first I'd like to say, we
Wait,
cannot,
you have to state your address and
Oh,
whether you've been
okay.
sworn.
all right, my address is 7315 Osage Hudson, and I own the property directly behind the Habib Enterprise property, and that is at 15508 Juliet's Court, Hudson 34667.
And you've been sworn?
Yes.
Thank you. Proceed.
What I'd like to say is we don't have room for one more residential in that area because nothing has been done with the stormwater drainage. And my property becomes a total lake. I have a half acre that's vacant. I have another half acre where my daughter and grandchildren live, and that is becoming a lake worse and worse every year. Hicks Road has now been paved from Bolton Avenue to Denton with future from New York Avenue. There's been no drainage put on that road, which makes it more extensive for my property. In 2019, I emailed Brandon, the Public Works Director, to do something with the only culvert in that area, which goes onto my property. So from one street down from Little Road on Bolton, on Charmwood, there is some drainage. After Charmwood on Bolton, there's no culverts, no drainage whatsoever, except for on my property. So everything that has been built up is flowing to me, and it's going to ruin my home. Yeah, in 2019, I emailed Brandon, and we do have a, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I was given a project number of 31618 to clear out that culvert, which is overgrown. It used to be a ditch, and now it's level property. I had to hurry over there one day to sign a paper to, as being the property owner, to have work done on that culvert, and nothing's been done since 2018. So I just can't see any more properties at all in that area until hopefully Pasco County does something with the stormwater drainage. Thank you.
Thank you. The next individual who signed up is Marilyn Waldroff.
Hello. I own property.
We need your name and address for the record, please.
Marilyn Waldorf, 15630 Juliet's Court.
And ma'am, have you been sworn?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. You may proceed.
The drainage is a big problem on the street, and we all have septic tanks. And we feel that with the new construction, drawing water for wells, because they'll all be on wells, and they'll all have septic, it's going to cause pollution to our wells. By putting in more than twice the amount of properties that was originally called for, the 6 going to, let's say, 11 or 12, as was discussed, would be catastrophic to what's going on in the environment. We have all owned our property for many years. It's a well-established neighborhood. We're all on half an acre. And to excessively build on that land that could actually help us with drainage and purification of our wells it's really crucial. It's paving the world. It's concrete everywhere. It's driveways. It's roofs. Has that all been taken into consideration? I just hate the development. There's mature trees there. There's owls. There's a lot of wildlife. They have nowhere to go. And I heard that it's going to be all shallow wells. The septic is going to complicate the problem. And putting in more than what was originally designed is really catastrophic for our neighborhood. I hope you consider the people who have lived there for so many years and help us for once instead of the developer. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
consideration.
All right. I'm going to go back to William and Kathleen.
Juliet's
If you could state your name and address for the record and whether or not you've been sworn.
Yes, we've been sworn in, and thank you, Commissioners. William, my husband, and my name's Kathleen. We live at 15616 Juliet's Court. And
what's your last name?
Mather, I'm sorry.
Thank you. You may
As
proceed.
was brought up, we are very concerned about the drainage to wells. I think what Marilyn was trying to get across is we all have shallow wells, and that many units in there. Excuse me for saying this, but I, for one, do not want to be taking a shower on somebody else's sewerage running down. I didn't quite catch the first woman that spoke, and she mentioned about the flooding. Our properties are slightly lower than what's across the street from us, as opposed to Hicks Road. When it rains, and I'm talking good substantial rain, my yard gets a lot of water in it. I've dealt with it. I do a lot of gardening, so I find it a little beneficial. But our main concern, big time, is the shallow wells, 15 units with the sewerage problem. It's got to run off somewhere, And I'm sure it hasn't even been perked yet to see where it is going. And as Marilyn said, we'd appreciate it if someone really took a good look at the properties there. 6 units, you could probably live with it. I've been on the county paper, and I see there were 3 units in there at one time. I don't know what happened to them, I'm told, hearsay, if they were dilapidated, taken off. There's no road there except for dirt. And if Mr. Mariano
Yes.
did the walkthrough, you well know that it's all dirt.
Right.
Mr. Habib did make a clearing from that property out to Hicks Road. He's also dragged in 3 trailers already. One is somebody's living in, one on the very corner of Bolton, and I'm sure you saw
Yep,
them.
saw 'em all.
And he brought a 3rd one in, and they're used, I assume, because they need a lot of work on them. And it's heartbreaking to see when the 2 of us have built up our property and took care of everything, to see that they want to put so many homes there. And as Marilyn, everybody says, there isn't enough room for it. There just isn't. Plus, they're taking out the forest. This is why I had 5 acres over in Hudson, but in the Highland area, well, we downsized. And we like the trees. They want to clear them all out. A few homes on that area, absolutely. 11, 12, it's crazy. And I've talked to other neighbors, and a lot of them didn't show up because their understanding was they were only replacing 5. Well, with the pandemic, a lot of people don't take off from work, and it's sad. So we're here trying to speak for everyone. So I hope you understand where we're coming from.
Okay.
So.
I've been sworn in.
Yes.
Same
Yeah,
address.
okay, name and address for the record.
The,
You have to give your name and address.
William Mather, 15616 Julius Court.
616.
Go ahead, you may proceed.
Okay, what she's trying to say, you did a walkthrough,
Oh, yes.
sir?
That walked the whole property.
Because the property slants down
Yeah.
and goes back up. So we are in the bottom of a gully. Now, we all have
Half acre.
shallow septics. Well, now, he bought this property, and the way I look at it, he wants to change the zoning from agriculture to the R1MH, and that allows him to put trailers in. Our concern is there's nowhere for the septic to go, except when he bought this property, first of all, he put a used trailer in, and he fixed it up, and it's at the entranceway, and it did not perk for the drainage, for the drain field. So he put an above drain field there. What's the rest of the property gonna do? Is that gonna have to be
It's gonna
purged? I mean,
include us.
the perk just doesn't seem to work there. It's just a low gully, and he wants to add trailer after trailer eventually. And it's gonna ruin our septic, our shallow wells, and it just doesn't make sense.
It's good. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
And I see your lot's very heavily wooded.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
His lot is wooded.
They're mature trees, they're beautiful.
It's his lot. He could take them down probably if he wants to.
Thank you.
Room for more trailers.
Okay.
There's no one on WebEx, and no one else has signed up, but I think there's someone that wants to speak.
Okay. I think he might have been the first person.
He's not signed up.
Okay. Before you speak, does anyone else wish to speak on this that's here? Okay. Anyone online?
There's no one online.
Okay, so this is the last speaker on this issue. Thank you.
Oh, yes, my name is Stephen Parker. I live on Juliet, 15714. Pasco County, open spaces, vibrant places. Don't take that away from us. What's going to happen here is by changing what the future land use was for this place, this neighborhood, it provided a diversity for the zoning land use. There's a strip of houses that are non-conformant, pre-existing non-conformant, that's right next to this area. And those houses are right on top of each other, a whole strip. Then there's this piece of property, which was supposed to be designated as 6 houses, and then there would be the area that I'm in, which is 16, which is giving diversity to the area. We don't want to take that away. We don't want to take the vibrance away and make it a house on top of house, like a cookie cutting sheet. Excuse me?
Yeah, you cannot talk from there, thank you.
Yeah, the zoning should be left as it was intended, which was 6 houses. And that was the problem with the mailing that they did. It was kind of defective, and the full intent was not transparent to the average homeowner. From what I talked to most of the people in the area, they said, oh, they're putting 6 houses in. That was basically it. And that's the understanding. 6 houses may not be that bad a stress. We have a water problem. My water sometimes during the dry season comes up like 1% milk in my glass. It's ridiculous. I have a right to clean water. Plus the fact when the water gets that low, what may be the cause of a sinkhole in the area? That could be another problem that we could have by overbuilding in an area and ruining the diversity of the area and the vibrance of it. We don't want to do that. The road infrastructure there doesn't support the volume of trucks and garbage trucks that will be brought into the area. Juliet is a U-turn area for all the trucks. The garbage trucks all come down there and turn around. That road is completely destroyed. You can't ride down it without rattling your teeth out of your mouth. And Bolton is just as bad. So this is a problem. We also have a Maryland, which is one over. We already have a trailer park in there. So now you're going to put like another trailer park on the other side of us? I don't think it was the original future intent for this property. And to change it would be doing that. We also have the Hudson Water, which is like 2 blocks down, which is sucking water out of the ground there. So, we have a right to have clean drinking water. If you dig down on the ground, you go down 2.5, 3 feet, and you hit shale. It's lime shale. It's so thick the water doesn't penetrate it. And then you got these houses with these leaching fields and the septic tanks, which are going to be above that shale, and that water is going to run off.
Thank you very much, sir. That's your 3 minutes. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And now the applicant gets to respond, and then it's to the board.
I'll keep this very short. I think it's important to recognize future land use category here is Res 6, which is 6 units per acre. Your staff report tells you to the north, south, east, and west are all manufactured homes. But the critical issue, as you've heard, is stormwater. And clearly what's occurring now is the stormwater is going everywhere and anywhere with no control, no help, no assistance. So obviously, as commissioners are aware, we'll work with your staff. So this will not be in a just wild control of stormwater on vacant land. This will be controlled above normal requirements as worked out with your staff. It will control the stormwater and assist and directly address the issues that you've heard from the neighbors. That's good environmentally, that's good for stormwater, and good for the neighborhood. To do it right and do it correctly and exceed those conditions. And again, we've reduced the number of units to further address that. Thank you, and we appreciate your consideration. And to the good neighbors who are here today.
So how many units were you putting on there?
We're proposing 11 now.
Okay, and that takes you to Res what?
They're already in Res
Future land
6.
use is Res 6.
Okay.
6 units per acre under the future land use category, which when people come to the county, they read, and we need to stick with. Chairman.
Okay. Up, Denise is coming up.
I just want to mention that with the 11 units, that would be a density of 1.6 per acre.
Oh.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Denise, could you pull up the maps for the land use first and then for the zoning, just so the board can see exactly what's going on?
And I do want to read a correction into record. The deed restriction that Mr. Pressman has agreed on is actually to comply with 902.2 N5B. I incorrectly stated N4B.
So the maps, please. Okay. And what I want to show the board is, all right, so there's the land use, so it's Res 6 to the left side. So on Juliet Court, there's 16 units there. If you look right across the way, the property's pretty close in size. And they could do 6 right now, but they're looking to go to 11. And after the residents' concerns, I'm happy to keep it at the 11 number. The next slide, if you would. So it's R1 MH on Juliet Court around it, to the side of it as well. So we're really not changing the neighborhood not much, and it's actually less dense than what seems to be right beside it anyway. Staff's got to go through the development part, and with the conditions in there, I think this will actually help with the flooding. I mean, a major storm, not going to help much, but for everything else, I think they're going to get an improvement in the stormwater situation that's here. It seems to be very compatible with what's all around it. As far as percolation, that's something for developments to take care of, not us, right? They'll have to make sure that all works. So I'm going to make a motion to approve it with the conditions stated by the Planning Commission, and then Denise, the conditions for stormwater are?
The voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction that basically states that they'll comply with 902.2 N5B.
That'll be my motion to approve, and we'll get Mr. Pressman on record again.
The zoning resolution will not be effective until you can't condition the zoning. So that's the motion. would be
Okay,
that-
all right, it's just getting the conditions in, okay. All right, so that's my motion, thank you.
And just so you understand, it's the same as what you have, right?
It's, the Juliet's Court neighborhood appears to be R1 MH as well, yes.
Okay.
That's what this rezoning is to.
All right, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Yep, is that it? Is that our last one?
You got 65.
No, yeah.
Because I see Ainsley here. All right, let's see how fast we can go. Let me
Item
see.
P65 is
Well, let's
next.
walk out and see if I can make a hotel reservation.
Item P65 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 16th, 2022.
I will. It's called Public Works. This project is a Leslie Avenue, PVAS number 3470. It's one street, non-county maintained and paved. Estimated project cost is $9,263. Maximum cost per ERU is $3,189.51. In terms of possible votes, there were 30. 17 responded, which is 57%. Of that, 16 or 94% were in favor of the project. 1 or 6% was against the project. The repayment is over a 15-year period at 3.25 interest rate. This is a location map, condition of the road, and staff is recommending approve.
Is there, before we go through anything more, is there anyone here who wants to oppose this? I'll take a motion.
Do you want us to make sure I get full public comment, no?
Yeah, there's no one online, I already
No?
checked.
Well, I'll put it on the record, no one's online
Yeah.
and no one has signed up.
So no
19,
So with no public comment, move approval.
yeah.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
So item P66 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on February 16th, 2022.
This is Mitchell Avenue, PVAS number 3469. This is also one street, non-county maintained. Estimated project cost is $8,692. Maximum cost per ERU is $5,397.46. There were 17 possible votes. We received 13 responses, which is 76%. There are 9 in favor, or 69%, 4 against. Annual installation is over a 15-year period. Interest rate is 3.25% interest. This is the location map and a photograph of the Mitchell Avenue. Staff is recommending approve.
Is there anyone here to speak against it? Against it?
Yes, we have one person signed up.
Okay.
What was the vote again?
It was way unanimous. I mean, way
Yes, I
in
raised
favor.
my hand. Thomas Rowe, 13819 Michelle. This is strictly a comment. Currently, when it rains, the north end ends up with a swimming pool of approximately 1,600 square feet. After talking to your paving personnel last week, several of them, no consideration has been specifically stated for the drainage of the water off the street, okay? If, after the project is completed, the water drains, I have no problem, all is good. If, after the project is completed, it does not drain and we still have the swimming pool, then we let the attorneys resolve the problem. That's all I have to say. Any questions?
Commissioner Mariano.
I would say, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to make sure we work with Ainsley and our staff to go look at that stormwater before we start the project to make sure we deal with the drainage.
That's all I'm here for.
And if you would, sir, make sure you give Ainsley your name, and we'll get with you when we go out there as well.
I'm on your list. Okay. And Ainsley is aware of me also, okay? I'm a loud person.
Why do I believe you?
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Appreciate
Okay,
you
I'll take a
coming forward.
motion.
Move
Wait,
approval.
anyone online?
I do not believe we have anybody online.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. I think we're to commissioner's items. Commissioner Oakley.
All righty. See what I got here. This past, I believe it was March 12th and March 13th, I had a meeting in my district with the status of women. We had actually we met over at Cocapelli's and had met in the citrus room, and we had about 23 attendees. So it was a very good meeting, and they wish to do this again sometime. So probably right now I'm looking at once every 6 months possibly to do this, without trying to make it too often, but and be able to listen to what women have to say that are in business in our district. So I know some of the other districts, I believe, are also trying to have some of those meetings, and which will be good. I think they'll get a good attendance in their area too. So the other thing I'd report is Chief James Walters of the Dade City Police Chief. He told me they were going, Dade City would be painting our electric car spaces green.
Nice.
And put an emblem on there that represents electric cars. And also, they're notifying people that are parking there that are not in electric cars. They're giving them a warning now, and will continue. If they keep parking there, they'll catch up with them. They'll start giving tickets. So, and that's that 2 spaces right there at the courthouse. So, let's see. Thank goodness for the opening of Ridge Road. I came over today and hit Suncoast, came over to Ridge Road and I made it less than an hour, which it usually takes me a little more than an hour, but it was less than an hour getting here, and that was a good.
I'm to cut out.
We got some people on Ridge Road that, because there's a construction there, they think they have to go 30 miles an hour, so I don't know, but the Ridge Road is very pretty.
35 is the speed limit.
35? 45?
35.
Okay, well.
No comment.
Maybe I was trying to go too fast then. So, but it was a nice drive over, and I think it saved time in getting here. So, but it worked good, and it's a beautiful road. That's the first time I've driven on it since it's been completed and opened up in that section. So very nice. That's all I have.
Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are we doing an update, a legislative update today or no? No? Okay. Then, all right, then I'll just want to follow up, and obviously we know the great news that the $14 million for Ridge Road Extension Phase 2 is in the budget. So obviously thank President Simpson and Speaker Sproul has been our entire delegation, and also on top of that, Representative Zika and Hooper, which sponsored it in the House and the Senate. You know, this was up to the last minute thing, as some of us know. Ralph knows and Andy knows. We took that last trip up to Tallahassee, and I think that helped as well. But we're very, very thankful for all our representatives, and that also includes Mariano and Representative Maggard as well. We know there's going to be a 7th member coming up, I guess, after November, but I'll be a citizen then, so I'll welcome them as a citizen at that time. March 20th, what was it, March 20th and November 21st, we wrote letters actually to members of Congress supporting the Sunshine Protection Act to make daylight saving time permanent. I don't know if all you saw this, but it did pass the Senate. It passed unanimous and consent. So congratulations to Senator Rubio, which was the primary sponsor of that. Senator Scott was pushing for it as well. Now's the time to get with our members of the House of Representatives and encourage our members of the House to actually hear this on the floor, either for a floor vote or consent themselves, because we know the importance of it. We've had these discussions in the past. Last but not least, last week Florida Sports Coast announced the keynote speaker will be Thaddeus Bullard, also known as the WWE Global Ambassador, Titus O'Neil, at the tourism banquet. If you don't know his history, he's definitely it's an incredibly powerful story if you've ever heard Thaddeus Bullard's story. And he's also a great guy. He's done a ton of work in the community in Pasco and Hillsborough County. So we're excited to have him at the Florida Sports Coast Banquet. If you haven't bought your tickets, they will sell out. And there's also VIP opportunities available as well. And we'll obviously have another special guest that we'll announce at a later date when I give my chairman's award. Thank you.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick, you guys go fast.
All right, well, happy anniversary. I did meet with Magnolia Valley Civic Association, so I would like to thank Code for going out, or for following up with them and helping them with their towers and everything. I am excited because it is in the budget, the $106 million for Moffett for their infrastructure, which is very important that we get ahead in our infrastructure, so it's exciting. We have the $14 million for the Ridge Road extension. I love driving on the Ridge Road. It's a lot shorter. And there's $2 million for the Green Key, and of course, lastly, the $35 million for the sports complex. So as long as it goes through, we're good to go. So I'll be short today. Oh, and don't forget to go to the Chasco Fiesta Saturday. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you. Just want to say, driving on Little Road, if you come from Fox Hollow down, now that we have people avoiding it by taking Ridge Road Extension, they may not see it as much, but that road has been patched a couple of times. I found out from staff that it's not even scheduled to be looked at until next year.
Pass for what?
Little Road, patched.
Patched. Okay.
So there's like, it's not unraveling, but it's like delaminating, so patches have gone in twice now. It's going to break down again this summer, so I want staff to take a look at it from Fox Hollow down to Embassy. Everybody agree with that? Do I need a motion?
I think he's listening.
Dan, we got that, Mike?
From Little to Embassy?
From Little Road, from Fox Hollow down south to Embassy. The road's delaminating. We've seen pictures of it. I don't want to see another disaster where people have to like shift from lane to lane or side to side, which may cause more accidents, but definitely an unsafe for an arterial road. So if we,
I think they're doing segments of Little Road just about every year.
Correct.
They're trying to work.
oh, we
the
just
worst of
did a segment to the north that was like
Yeah,
delimiting really
they
bad a
did
couple of years ago.
They did a segment
it's
down in
programmed.
Trinity, so I mean, they're trying to work the worst sections first, but they can't do the whole thing in 1 year. They're
I'm
trying to
telling
piece by piece.
this section right in here is delaminating like they did a couple of years ago. It's dangerous. We've seen videos of it where people have to shift from lane to lane to avoid it. When the rain comes down, it just delaminates right back up.
All right, they're
And
going to
we-
look at it.
So, one of the things I got was a quick thing, and I'll just mention this real quick. This Development Monthly Service Report from back a little while ago, it showed view specs going way down from 1 year to the other, so I'd like to have us take another look at that, about how we can get that number up. Had some permitting things where people can't seem to get their permits to go through, and I'll reach out to Sally specifically with an email I got earlier, but I just want to make sure we just minimize our staff time driving back and forth if we don't need to do it. On another note, Mike, thank you for responding back right away. That Joliet Court culvert, Mike's got that looked at. He's going to try to move that along as quick as we can as well. And I'll just make a mention that Commissioner Starkey, Fitzpatrick, and myself are hosting the Status of Women in Business Working Networking event. It's going to be Tuesday, March 29th at the Appoint Distillery from 5 to 7.
I knew it was somewhere.
So if anybody knows any women that would like to come out that do own their own business and want to come forward or want to launch one, they're all welcome to it. Should be a nice event. Obviously, other commissioners and staff would be welcome to come as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Administrator.
Yes, ma'am. Moffett Cancer Center is submitting a $3 million request to Congressman Bill Rackus as part of his community project request initiative that they now have back every year. And they've asked us for a letter of support, so I'd ask the board to allow the chair to sign a letter of support for that.
So moved.
Vote second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Why, we have to support that?
It's to go with their package
Oh,
so
okay,
that
okay.
they see that we're in support of their request. We will
Okay.
have some specific requests too.
Good.
In
That's-
addition to that,
okay.
but we want to support Moffitt's effort there as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
that would go into this camp.
Is it for a specific thing there?
Well, it is to supplement the state funding, assuming the state funding gets through the governor's pen.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who's next?
That would
You.
be me, and I don't have anything to
Okay, you.
for you all today.
All right, real quick. I wanted to talk about Operation Greenlight event that my office is hosting March 31st through April 2nd, so that's Thursday through Saturday. It's an event to help people get back their driver's licenses, to help reinstate them for their court-ordered obligations, and we have people available in person, by phone, and also we can do this online. So I wanted to make sure that that event was known. Get more information by going to my website. And also there is another thing we're doing. We're partnering with the courts, the state attorney, and the public defender to put on Operation Stand Down. At Operation Stand Down, we're going to hold Veterans Court to help our veterans get back on their feet, get their driver's license reinstated. So if you know a vet that has any sort of cases with our office that we can help them with, that would comply with the requirements for Veterans Court, the court and the state attorneys, public defenders in my office work together to reduce the amounts that are due on the cases, lower charges, and so on and so forth. So 2 great events, one specific for veterans, the other one is open to the general public.
When
Thank
is
you.
that? When is
So,
Operation Stand Down?
thank you. I don't think I said that. It is Friday, April 29th, and it's going to be held during Operation Stand Down at the Rotary Pavilion in Safety Town Rotary Pavilion. And it's Operation Stand Down's the actual whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's a great, great event.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm next. All right, first, I need to appoint Dr. Kim Moore to the Commission on the Status of Women. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. During my meeting with the Tampa Bay Builders Association and Terry and some of the developers and developers' attorneys, I brought up the question, and I've been meaning to ask this for a long time. When a development comes in, they have to do a tree survey, correct? And there's that ringing again. And so some of them can, so I believe they pay into, for trees of a certain size that they take out, they pay into the Tree Mitigation Trust Fund. But I do believe that we have a requirement that X amount of trees have to go back into the finished development. Is that correct? You can't just take every tree out and not put anything back in. I'm going to talk about the development as a total.
Yes, Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Whenever they remove trees with a mass grading or anything else, they do have to do a tree survey that tells you what they've removed. Their development plans, then the site plans tell you what they're putting back in. They must put back in the minimum to meet the landscape requirements. Above and beyond that, they can mitigate in other ways.
Okay.
They can either plant the trees or they can pay into the fund.
And that's been in effect for a long time, right? So if I were to drive through Fox Hollow or the Preserve, well, Fox Hollow is an old one, but should have been under under that. I mean, and that's been there for at least 20 years, because I believe I worked on that when I was on the Citizens Ordinance Review Committee, which was 20-something years ago. So I could go through a development in the last 20 years and see if they have any trees. Who in the county goes back and sees if the developers puts the trees in?
So when a development is built, like a subdivision is built now, the engineering inspectors actually look at the trees in the common areas. If there's trees along roadways, trees in parks, things of that nature, like along the edges. Then there's the trees on the lots themselves, referred to as lot trees that are covered in a different section. That's done through building construction services.
Okay, so someone does go and check. And so we could go into a neighborhood, say that was built 15 years ago, and drive around, and there should be trees on there. Someone could pull up a number and see how many trees should be in there.
Theoretically, yes.
Okay?
Recent
Because I'm
statutory
gonna
language,
take some-
Some people may have gone in and taken things out of their own accord, but theoretically, yes, you should be able to see a certain pattern of trees in an area, assuming that they haven't died.
But they wouldn't necessarily be in a house. They need to be putting them into common areas or street trees.
Depending on the plan that was approved when it was first done.
Yeah, so as Brad said, lot trees, which are a requirement, then become the residence's
Right.
property.
But the developer has to have X amount of trees replaced from when they cleared.
Correct.
Yes.
If they cleared trees and their approved plan showed them replacing certain trees in common areas to make up for that, they can't then go and remove those trees.
Right, because, I hear it all the time. People get upset that we come in, we take every single tree out, then we build it up with sand, and then they're supposed to put the trees back. But there are many places that you can drive around a development, and there aren't any trees. So I'm just going to pay more attention to that, but I just wanted to make sure. And I will tell you that the developers in the call said they know that's not happening. So, and they said, yeah, that's not good, we're not doing that. So they did say that. Okay, now I want to, thank you, Brad. I want to bring up sprinklers, and Mr. Kabala, who's texting me over here.
I thought you had to go.
I do.
You're rushing everybody.
So,
You're like trying to hurry up.
So this is the last thing. On Florimar in Gulf Harbors, there are a couple islands in the right-of-way that are owned by the county, but the community has landscaped them, and we maintain it. And right now, they're in there putting they're fixing the pipes with that money we got last year. And Paris, the head of our civic association, talked to the guys doing the work in FGUA, and because we would like to put a sprinkler in there. And FGUA said we could put a sprinkler in there. It would cost $800 for the water meter. It's 300 square feet. And, but the Civic Association was okay with putting the sprinkler in there. Right now, the lady who's Judy Probst there on the corner puts a hose across the street, and ladies water it with a hose coming from the real estate office. And, but then they said that there is a $1,200 impact fee to put in the sprinkler to sprinkle like an 8-foot by 30-foot strip of grass. So I think it's a little crazy. But Mike is saying that, because we're willing to put in the water meter, but to pay $1,200 for the smallest little 2 sprinkler heads seems crazy. But Mike is saying that our bond covenants say we have to charge ourselves. It's the counties.
That's correct. Your bond covenants say that you have to pay back the enterprise account, just like any of the other discussions we've had about waiver of solid waste fees, any of that stuff.
So can I ask for help on paying the impact fee from here?
It's a slippery
You
slope.
can,
That is crazy. It's the that the county has to charge itself that much money
Yeah.
is,
We've run into that before.
really?
Yeah, we've had discussions about that before.
So apparently we paid impact fees on our utility building.
Yes, ma'am. When the county does construction and we build a building and pull a meter, we pay the connection fee to the enterprise fund.
All right.
Or when we do irrigation on, somewhere else, we pay the connection fee to the enterprise fund. Everybody that pulls a meter pays a connection fee to the enterprise fund because that's to pay for future capacity.
All right, that's all I have.
Enjoy your
Bye.
anniversary. Happy 30th. Enjoy it.
We're
Hope you get a
adjourned.
room.